I'm going to start out with a question for you guys because I kind of want to see which direction or what we should focus more on today. What I want to talk about is like, hey, it's December 1st. What the heck? First of all, you've got basically 30 days to wrap up 2020, to prepare for 2021, right? Like preparing for next year doesn't start on January 1. You need to be doing that in advance. Should have started back in October, but there's still some time to do some things. So I want to talk a little bit about an outline that I use on a weekly basis that I think will work really well for you to reflect and plan and sort of best use your time for the rest of this year and moving into next year. But I'm curious where people stand with things. Are you, just like show of hands, are you feeling thumbs up or thumbs down about your business plan for next year? Up, down, neutral also is okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to touch a little bit on where I think you could spend some time or how you could focus your attention. We also have some excellent resources this month in our KW training on all on video, so you can do it from home for business planning, which is great. And I'll just touch a little bit on that, but there's some good opportunities there and some good ways to spend your time to plan ahead and get ready. How are people feeling thumbs up or thumbs down about what they've accomplished in real estate so far this year? And this will be a little bit different for everyone if you're new or if you've been in the business for a number of months. Yeah, your thumb should be up, Jesse. All right, we'll get you there, Grady, don't worry. All right, cool. And how are people feeling thumbs up or thumbs down about their how they've spent their time in a quality way outside of real estate? So time with family, time on your house, time for yourself. Okay, cool. Thank you to those of you who have your cameras on for participating. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today is a system that I've adapted from well, it's a book. They're a training company. It's the planner I use. It's called the Full Focus System. There's a podcast called Focus on This that I have recommended before. Focus on This is the podcast. So it's all tied to Michael Hyatt and Company. They're a sort of efficiency, time management, entrepreneurial business training company. And I've used a ton of different planners. I have a whole stack of different planners that I've tried to use that I feel like work well with real estate, work well with how I operate. And that's just the one that I've found works for me. It ties in really well with a lot of what we do at Keller Williams, the 411, the GPS, all those planning and goal setting type of outlines that they provide us really are very similar to other opportunities, other outlines that are out there. And this one ties in really well for me. So this is what I use on a weekly basis. And the way that I hold myself accountable to it is every Monday, I have a meeting with my assistant. You could do this with your family. You could do this with another agent in launch. You could set up accountability with me, but it's a time to look back and plan and be set to move forward. So it's a great system, and it's something that I think really ties into how you could approach this month. So it doesn't just have to be on a weekly basis. You know, we've got about 30 days, right, to get through the end of 2020. And it's really easy to just like, holidays, winter, cold, I'm gonna put on some sweatpants. Let me know when it's 2021, right? Like it's really easy to just be like, the market's slowing down. Charlie showed us today the stats, and you know, he said prepare for things to slow down. So does that mean no business is happening at all? Absolutely not. Does it mean there's not other things that you could be doing on your business, things that you could be doing to get prepared, to set yourself up for success, to make you a better agent for your clients, to be building your pipeline, to be connecting with leads and people that you want to work with in 2021? There is time for that, guys. That's 30 days. And yes, there's going to be holidays in there. And yes, you should take time off and be present with your family, but there is time to get some stuff done yet. And this is a great opportunity. If business is slowing down, if there are fewer buyers out there, if the activity is not as frenzied as it has been, that's an opportunity. And it doesn't mean to completely block that off your list, that we're not going to be on showings. I'm not going to be writing offers. That can still happen. Keep that open, but know that you're going to have some time, and you better have a plan to use it to your best advantage, right? We've got 30 days to set yourself up for success. So I've got a kiddo in the background. Is that Grady?
Yeah. Oops. Did I not?
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't realize.
Thank you. All right. So first thing, I've talked about this before, and I think it's really important. Having thinking time. This is huge, you guys. I know it sounds really silly. It sounds really basic. It sounds like something you can blow off. It sounds like something that you earn once you have business. No, this is super important to setting yourself up for success, to being really focused, intentional, dialed in. It's important. So giving yourself thinking time every week is key. And I would argue daily. So I saw Josie pop up. The planner is called the Full Focus Planner. It's through Michael Hyatt and Company. It's a quarterly planner. But so having that thinking time, this is your opportunity to reflect. It's your opportunity to set things up for whatever time frame. So like I said, this is based on a 1 week review and planning, but I'm applying it to the month. So if you've got paper and pen out, or if you're using your computer, I want you to write these down, because you're going to use these to think about where you are right now on December 1, or if you have time, don't have time today, do this tomorrow. But go through and say, okay, number 1, this is what I'm going to talk about or think about or write up first. Biggest wins. So biggest wins, that's your chance to reflect on things you're grateful for, things that went well. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you start doing this, your muscles in your brain that exercise all of the problems and the stuff you screwed up and the things that went wrong, that's what's going to be the loudest. That's what's going to come out first when you start thinking about this stuff. Jot it down, it's fine, put it on the side. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about biggest wins. So things that you can celebrate, and these don't have to be big things. They just have to be something that stands out to you in your process. So, you know, whatever it is, I finally made those calls. I finally made connection with this person I've been trying to reach. I completed practicing an offer to purchase. Like, these might not be big things, but they're big to you. They're big in your you know, scheme of what's important and what you need to get done. And that's what really matters. This is about you. It's not about what somebody else thinks is a big win. It's your big win. So I want you to come up with at least 3 big wins for the year. You've got the whole dang year to look at. So if you have 5, great. The point is, it's going to change your perspective on how you're looking at things from a weekly, you know, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis. If you start to exercise those muscles that, oh man, I'm gonna have to come up with my weekly big 3, or I'm gonna have to think about my big 3 from the year, you're gonna start looking for those things, right? Whatever you're looking for, that's what you see. How often have you like looked at you know, a car, and then every time you're out on the road, you notice that kind of car? Oh, there's another Subaru. Oh, there's another Subaru. Oh, there's a, right? Like, it's just, when it's top of mind, they just appear. So if you're thinking about what positive things, what victories or wins have I had, that's what you're going to start focusing on. And that's good. The more you get momentum on those things you're grateful for, those things that you feel good about, those things that give you momentum, the more you're going to see those things. And vice versa, when you are focused on the negative, when all you see is what's falling apart in your life, or the things that are going wrong, or the stuff that you can't stand, or the things that make you feel bad, that's all you'll see, right? And this is a time where you've got an opportunity to reset and get yourself ready for 2021. You still have a whole month in 2020. So why not make it an opportunity to think about your victories, think about your wins, and write them down? That's important. Write them down. And if it helps you, put it on a Post-it and stick it on your mirror in the bathroom so it's something you can go back to. Just do whatever you need to do to keep that top of mind. Share it with your family. Share it with, if you're on a team, share it with your teammates. Share it with another launch agent. Share it with me in an accountability call. Just put it out there so that you are giving yourself the opportunity to celebrate, to recognize, and to kind of solidify in your mind how good it felt when you accomplished that. So if you come across that task again, or you come across a difficult thing that you need to do, you remember how good it felt to overcome, to complete that, to move on, to accomplish that. Make sense? Cool. So that's the first thing. Biggest wins. Celebrating your victories is huge, so important, and something that's very easy to push aside, especially when you feel like you don't have much accomplished. There's always something to celebrate. So get in that mindset. The second thing is a review of your activities. And this is really an opportunity for you to look at things either from the perspective of where do I stand with my top 5 and how am I doing with my lead generation. You can go look at your numbers for production thus far. How far am I into my 5 transactions closed to graduate from launch? How far am I with closed transactions or people under contract or number of people I'm working with versus my goal? Now, if you don't have a set of tasks that you need to accomplish for the week or for the rest of the year, or if you don't have a goal for the rest of the year, write one. Make sure it's realistic, but a little bit of a stretch. And it doesn't only have to be production, right? Like we only have a month left. You're not going to, it's very unlikely you'll be able to get a new client, write an offer, and close before the end of December, right? Unless you are already working with them. So make sure it's something that's related to your business or perhaps related to launching into next year, but give yourself some goals so you can reflect back on these later. But this portion is your chance to look backwards to all of 2020. So how have I done? What has been working? What has not been working? All right, I'm going to say that again. What worked? What didn't work? And take it a step further. Don't just say what worked and what didn't work. And you've got to come up with some what worked. You can't have all what didn't works, right? You're going to crush yourself if you do that. So it's got to be what worked and what didn't work. And then why? Why did it work? Why didn't it work? This is the kind of thinking stuff that you've got to be able to do when you are dialed in, when you are not distracted, when you're not on your phone doing other things, when you're not being distracted by other people. This is really deep thinking. Give yourself the time to sort of freely reflect on how things have gone. And this can be for all areas of your life, right? It's not just your business. Definitely touch on your business just because that's what we're talking about, but also like how are things going with your family, your relationship, your health, your spirituality. All those other pieces are important too, right? At this company, we look at the whole person. This isn't just about work, it's work-life counterbalance. So, what worked, what didn't work, and why? This is really going to guide you moving into next year, figuring out what you should continue to do, or maybe stop doing or change. If your approach to getting new contacts is reaching out to people through social media, and you're getting some responses but you're not getting people's contact information, or you're seeing that people are talking about homes but you just can't capture them to the point where they want to have a consultation with you, what else do you need to be doing to get them to that next step, right? Step back, look at the big picture, the big goal. How do I get to this next point? And if you're not sure, then use your resources. But what worked, what didn't, and why? The next step is to do a big old list sweep. How many people have like a ton of stuff on their to-do list right now with work and also with the holidays? Oh shoot, I have to buy presents. I have to figure out if we're getting together as family or not, or how we're doing that. Do I have to set up a Zoom? Do I have to teach grandma how to use Zoom? Like there's all these other things, right? Like half the month gets eaten up by holiday stuff. And this year is a little bit weird because it's not just like after work, I'm going to go to a cocktail party with my friends. It's kind of spread out in funny ways and it's not quite as you expect. So, knowing what you have to accomplish, what you have to do, all the little tasks, just do a brain dump. Okay, I got to take care of gifts for this person. I'm going to volunteer at this shelter, or I'm going to donate food to this organization. So I have to make sure I like pick that up, drop it off, all those things. So just do an overview of your tasks, all the things you think you need to accomplish. Now, keep in mind that the things you think you need to get done, and you only have a 30-day window if you're trying to get it done by the end of the year, and then you have to take out the holiday time. So putting this list together is not your to-do list. This is a brain dump of what you think you need to accomplish. What you'll need to do next step is figure out what you can realistically get done in 30 days, right? And part of that's going to be figuring out, do these things get me towards my goals for the rest of the year? Do these things set me up for success for my goals for 2021?
Can I ask
If
a
it's
quick
a bunch,
question?
yep.
Sorry. Do you brain dump like 30 days at a time? Because my brain is full of 30 days to like 6 months to a year.
Yeah, if you want to do longer term things, I mean, what you're going to end up doing in the next step is organizing it in your calendar.
That was a good
So,
question, by the way.
yeah. So you're going to have things now, tasks, a brain dump of tasks is different from a list of goals. So things you want to accomplish is your list of goals. Your tasks, the things you need to get done, this is like, I've got to get holiday cards out to my sphere to try to make that touch. I've got to get this buyer out on some showings and try to get an offer written. I've got to, you know, send out my holiday gifts to these people who live out of state. So if you've got goals and other things like that, kind of set them on the side of your list, that these are more accomplishments and then tasks. And you'll start to sort out through those things in the next step, which is the overview of your calendar. So that's when things get real. And I can't tell you how many times I personally have done this, and I've seen other people do this. They make a big old list of their to-dos for the day or the week or the month, and then they just go, right? Have you done this before? You have this big freaking list, and you're like, I'm just gonna try to, whenever I have time, I'm just gonna like try to do this stuff, right? Like I'm just gonna try to jam it into my day. I haven't thought about how long it takes. I haven't thought about how much time I have that day, if any. That's just my list. I'm just going to work off of that. Now, how often have you done that and you get to the end of the week or the month and you're like, oh crap, I haven't done like half of this stuff, right? So you've got this big list and then you feel like a loser because you didn't do all these things. And all you can think about is the stuff you did wrong. I've been there. I fall into that. I'm guessing some of you do too. So looking at your calendar is a really important step. And that overview of your calendar is not just plugging in your to-dos, it's looking at what events do I have going on, which this month is especially important. So not just holiday stuff, but like, are you going to go to that business training online? Put it in your calendar or it's not going to happen, right? What gets scheduled gets done. What gets scheduled happens. And we've talked about that jar of rocks and sand before, right? Your important things, your most important things are those big rocks. Those need to go on your calendar first. If you fill that jar with sand, if you fill your calendar with little to-do tasks, there's going to be no room for the most important things. So you got to go big rocks first. So that business planning clinic could be a big rock for you. That doing some kind of pop by or bringing gifts or cards or something to your sphere to try to get some connection going, to try to build some business for next year, that could be a big rock. Time with your family, focused, uninterrupted, present time with your family during the holidays, not on your phone, not doing business stuff. That's important. So put that in there. Self-care, taking the time to get enough sleep, to make sure you're eating lunch, to, meditating or whatever you need to do, exercise, put that in as a big rock. That's an important thing. So plot that stuff into the rest of your December calendar first, and then look at your task list. Okay, these are the tasks I think I need to get done this month. Let's look at priority. So like, what are my number one tasks? What are my number twos? What are my number threes? Is there anything that I can delegate to somebody else? Right? So, oh, I thought I had to go pick that thing up from that store, but actually they offered delivery. Maybe I'll just do that. Or I have, my sister's coming into town and she doesn't have anything to do for 3 days. So I'm going to have her help me out with these things because they're fun things, but they need to get done. So that'll be her job. I've got an accepted offer and I'm a little overwhelmed at the thought of having to manage this through the holidays. I'm going to hire Renee to handle my contract to close. So you've got some delegation options. That's one thing you can do with that list. Also, think about the time it's going to take. Be really realistic about this. This is the hardest thing for me. Have you ever had a task where you're like, oh, it'll take me like 20 minutes. I can just like bust it out. Anybody? And you're like, yeah, I'll just finish that real quick. No big deal. And then 2 hours later, you're like, I don't have this done yet. How am I still working on this? Right? Or like I started it and then I stopped because I had this thing I had to go to and then I went back to it. I've never really fully completed it. It's the end of the month. This thing's still hanging in my face and I'm really upset about how I didn't really complete it. And I wasn't fully focused, so it really didn't get done. Right? So going through that list and see how having this thinking time is so important. It's not just about a to-do list. Anybody can make a to-do list. Really successful people are honest with themselves about how long this stuff takes. What's the priority? Do I have to be the one to do it? And is this getting me to my goals for this time frame? Super important. Huge step. Do not skip it. So easy to skip. So easy to say I don't need to do that part. I can figure it out in my head. I'm telling you, write this stuff down. Plug it into your calendar physically, whether it's your paper calendar, your phone. Like, this is when this task is going to happen. From this hour to this hour, I'm working on this thing. That's the only time I have. I'm going to get it done. How often have you worked on something at the last minute? It has to be done by this time because you're going to run out the door to your listing presentation and you've got to have that done. And suddenly you accomplish it much faster than you thought you could. Right? All of a sudden, when you've got a time frame, when you're up against a wall, when you are limited to when you can work on this thing, suddenly you're much more productive and efficient. Well, yeah, give yourself a set amount of time and stick to it. Really schedule certain times. Your whole day doesn't have to be blocks of time with zero flexibility, but important stuff should be on your calendar. What gets scheduled gets done. What is not scheduled oftentimes is not done, right? It gets partially done, it gets pushed off, it stares at you and makes you feel bad because you didn't do it. Just put it on your calendar. So after you've done your overview of your calendar, you've looked at your events, you've looked at your tasks and plugged things in. You're also looking at deadlines, right? Things that need to be done by a certain date or that you'd like to be done by a certain date. Make sure that that's plotted in a way that it can be completed with that time frame you have. Then it's time to pick out your big three. Now, this is kind of part of that task list review. Is what are the most important accomplishments you want to have or the tasks you want to complete? Like I said, I do this on a weekly basis, but if you're looking at the month, at the end of December, what are the 3 things you want to be able to say you completed? At the end of December, what are the 3 things you want to say you were able to complete? For me, it's my holiday cards to my clients in Sphere. That's a huge touch for me. I need to make sure those are done and sent out by the holiday, right? Maybe some go out a few days after Christmas, but they've got to be out before the end of the year. That's a big one for me. Another one may be something more personal. Like, it is super important that you, have all the gifts together and mailed out to your family members because you're not going to see them in person this year. And that has to happen by December 25th. That's a huge thing. It's not a work thing, but it's really important to you and your quality of life and your relationships. And so that's one of your top 3. And then maybe the other one is, if you don't yet have a business plan in place for next year, maybe that's your other one. And that's a huge one. So that gets broken down into smaller tasks, right? Attend the workshop, write up my numbers, put together a spreadsheet or put my numbers in command, break down how many appointments I need, per week in 2021, set up a review date for the first quarter to see how things are going with my, these are small things, like put this in your calendar, give a date to this, watch this thing, get the notebook to write, or get the planner to write the stuff in, right? Like every little bit of that is working you towards that goal. So you got to break it down. But the big three are the things you want to be able to say at the end of the month, I got these things done. Like I said, they don't all have to be business. So identifying those, writing them down, maybe putting them somewhere where you're going to see them daily as a reminder. And since we're talking about the month, this means that maybe on a daily or weekly basis, you're going to revisit, how close am I to getting these top 3 done? Am I prioritizing my time, my tasks towards those top 3? Has my top 3 changed? Maybe you get 2 weeks in and you're like, well, that's done. Maybe I should add something else, or, things changed and now I don't need to do this task. So maybe I have a different third thing. Really taking the time to make this a living list, make this something you're checking in on all the time, right? This is not just like, I put it in a book and then the month happened and I don't know what happened. And now I'm going to look at the book again and feel bad because I didn't do any of this stuff because I kind of forgot what was even in there, right? Like you have to really be in tune, dial in, pay attention. This is your business and your life, and it's not happening to you. You are controlling it, right? That's a different mindset. I'm not getting tossed around through the world and, well, I'll just see what happens to me. Being an entrepreneur, owning your own business means you're taking control. I'm going to make this happen. I control my time. I decide what I say no to, so I know what I'm saying yes to, right? This is you in charge. So this is you taking the reins and you making the decisions and you taking the time and giving yourself that time to get this stuff in order, because you're the one who's going to see the benefits, right? Last one, self-care. And I mentioned this already, but when you're putting those big rocks into your calendar, it's really important that you're remembering to have that planned, to have something in place, because it may not feel that way now. If you're starting out your business, you don't have that much happening, but it feels like you have a lot to do. That I have a lot to do feeling does not go away. It just changes forms. So as you get more business, there are 100,000 things to do all the time, right? There's all the stuff you want to do to get your business in order and to have your systems in place and to reach out to people and to show people you're doing a great job, but also to service your clients at the same time. There's always so many things to do. And I can tell you that if you do not take control of your schedule and if you do not put those big rocks in first, it'll be 2 months and you realize you haven't seen your nephew. It'll be 14 days since you meditated last and you wonder why you're on edge. Like, you've got to figure out time to put in advance. What gets scheduled gets done, right? Give yourself that self-care time. This is not self-indulgent. This is not distracting from your goals. This does not take you away from your business. This is making you better so that you can be your best self for your family, for your business and your clients. You will burn out if you don't give yourself breaks, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't take the time to reflect and look for those victories and think about what you're grateful for. You're going to get really sour, you're going to get jaded, and you're going to burn out. And I can speak from experience, burnout is not fun. It means you don't care about anything, you don't get anything done for days, weeks. It screws up everything. So if you think you're saving yourself time by skipping that step, you're not. It's all going to build up and multiply and hit you at the same time. And it doesn't matter what you have going on, it's going to screw things up. I had a great conversation with another agent from our office about a week ago who is an extremely high producing independent agent. And she had such a burnout that she was offline for months and had to rely on people to do all kinds of things for her. It was a horrible experience. You know, her numbers looked pretty good, but when it came down to it, quality of life was awful. And like, what's the point if you're doing a bunch of business, but you can't enjoy any of the rewards? So, really important to take the time to set that up, even when you're starting out, even when you're new. Um, Having that rest can really charge you up to really kill it, get things done faster and more efficiently, and with a better attitude. And when you have that flow, when you've got that momentum, when you've got that good energy going, people just flock. I can speak from experience. They just come to you, they just pop up out of the woodwork. Oh, you're just like, looks like you're having a killer year. It looks like you love what you're doing. I heard that you were selling real estate. I'm so excited for you. I know somebody who's looking for a realtor. I'd love to send them your way because I know they're going to be in good hands. They're going to have a good experience because you're just like vibing. You're like on it. You're in the flow. You're taking some time for yourself. You're killing it in business. You know, that all comes from this balanced approach. So really thinking about how you're going to set time for that as well is important. You know, think about what recharges you. Maybe it's time with your family. Maybe it's, painting. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's reading something totally unrelated to work, or maybe it is something related to work. It's just reading time is rejuvenating for you. Make sure that you're giving yourself time for those things. It's really important. So those are the basics of how I review my week. So I'm looking at my biggest wins. I'm doing a review of what worked, what didn't work, and why. I'm doing a brain dump of my list of tasks, to-dos, all the things I want to accomplish. And then I'm doing an overview of my calendar and plugging things in. Really realistically, how long is it going to take to do this? When am I going to do it? One thing that I've used is I do themes for certain days of the week. So like every week I write notes to past clients, at least 5 notes, handwritten notes in the mail to past clients in Sphere. And if I don't have a day of the week when that happens, I don't get it done because it feels self-indulgent and fun. So I push it off and then suddenly it's Friday and I haven't done it. So every Wednesday is my note writing day. And every Wednesday has a block of time in there and I scoot it around based on what I have going on that week, but it's always in there. So I know that's going to get done. So if it helps you to have themes for certain tasks, you can do that. Don't take everything I'm talking about and try to do it all at once. Just take a couple nuggets. Do a couple of things to start with. It's going to take some time to build up this habit and to figure out how it works best for you. But that's a big piece. Time blocking, using a calendar, however you decide to use it. It can be on, your phone, it can be on paper, but whatever it is, do what works for you. I do my stuff on paper for planning, for reflecting, and my initial setup of the week. When it comes to appointments and important dates like birthdays and stuff like that, that all goes in my phone. Also, contract to close deadlines go in my phone, but I have like a separate category for those, so I can take them off my calendar if I need to, just see what my schedule is. But do what works for you. I find that paper is great because I can't suddenly drift off into Instagram, which I do all the time. So having it on paper means this is focused time. I'm just reflecting, I'm taking notes, I'm looking ahead, I'm plotting it out. I'm less distracted. So for me, paper works great. And then I've still got digital, what's coming up on my schedule and my calendar. And my important tasks for the day, I'll like take a picture with my phone so I can go back to it if I can't grab it quick in my planner. But my planner is pretty small, so I just carry it with me. It's just a little guy. But do what works for you. The important thing is that you're taking the time to reflect, that you're taking the time to plan, that you're prioritizing your big rocks, and that you're remembering that you've got to have time off of work, self-care time, family time, spiritual time, all the things that make you a whole person. It's not just business. All those things pour into you. You are your business. This makes you a better person. It makes your business better, right? So this is your opportunity. You've got 30 days for the rest of the year. You've got time, but not a lot of time. So you got to be focused about it to make your plan, make sure you're set up for next year. If you've been putting it off, this is it. If you haven't done your CE yet, you got to get that done, plot it into this week and make sure you finish it. So you don't want to have the problem of not having your license and then you can't do anything, especially if you just got it. So make sure you're prioritizing those things. And if you want to take it week by week, do that. But keep the overview of I've got this month and I'm going to set myself up for next year. If you do nothing to get ready for 2021 and 2021 starts, the year will happen to you instead of you controlling the year, right? Even with COVID, I had a plan. I tracked my goals. I had accountability. I happened to the year. I had a great 2020 because I could control a lot of it. I happened to be in a business that allowed me to work. So some of it was just fortune, but I controlled how I used my time. I controlled what I decided to do with my team, how I took care of my clients. When I pivoted, I'm in charge. It's my business. So no matter what gets thrown at us, there's a way to find a path to success. There's a way to find a path to your goals. And if you're running the ship, then it will happen. If you are not, and you just let things happen to you and you let things throw you off course and you don't revisit what you're going after, if you don't take the time to reflect, if you don't take the time to schedule what needs to happen so it actually happens, you're going to get blown all over the road. You're going to go wherever the wind takes you. And that seems easier, but at the end of the day, you've got zero control and it's generally disappointing, right? So this is your opportunity to take the reins, to take control, to decide what's going to happen. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to get every single thing on your list done, but you can't give yourself a hard time about that, because if you set goals that are just out of your reach, if you're really intentional about how you're using your time, you're going to accomplish 10 times more than you would have without a plan, right? I'm not perfect. I get all kinds of stuff done and I get all kinds of things not done. I make all kinds of mistakes. I get blown off course. I burn out. I get distracted. I have days where I feel like I got nothing done. But at the end of the week, I've generally accomplished my top 3. I've generally gotten 3 victories for the week. I feel pretty good about where I am. So even when I feel like, oh man, I really didn't kill it like I thought I would, because I had things set up in the way I did, I still got quite a bit done. And I'm still making strides forward towards my goal. And that's really the ultimate thing, right? When I step back a little bit further and I don't get so caught up in the details, if I'm doing the things I should do, if I'm scheduling my activities, if I'm staying focused on my goals, if I'm reflecting on my victories and I'm thinking about what I need to do to accomplish my bigger goals, have some accountability thrown in there, I'm making strides in the right direction. And to people on the outside, it looks like I'm doing everything perfectly and amazing, and I'm just killing it, and I make no mistakes, and I have everything set up perfectly. And well, I've been in this for 6 years, and so like nobody else can do it this way because they are just starting out. No, I'm telling you, this is really basic stuff. This is the stuff I started doing when I was new, and I've just sort of adjusted it over time. So it's things that you can do now. This is not stuff that's like, well, once I have more experience or once I sell more houses. No, man, everybody's got time. Everybody's got challenges to that time. It's about you taking charge of that time and figuring out how to best use it. Your time, your energy, those are yours and it's your business. So figure out how you're going to pour into that and the rest of your life to balance it out. And we've got 30 days to get you set up to kill it in 2021. So you've got time, but you need to be really intentional about it. You need to dial in. This is not the time to kick back and say, I'm going to chill on the couch for 30 days. I'll see you in 2021. We'll see what happens. If you want to go about it that way, let me know how that works out for you. I guarantee you, anybody who's actually making a plan, who's actually taking the time, is going to get more done and get closer to their goals than you will. So take the time. It's worth it. Let me tell you, it's worth it. It sounds crazy. It sounds like there's so much other things going on that you'd rather be doing or are distracting to you, but it really doesn't take that much time. Give yourself an hour and just go through this list. Give yourself 2 if you can, or revisit it every week. but figure out what works for you and really take charge of that time, because you will see a difference. You really, really will. And you're gonna not have a great week and fall off track. And then you just got to get back on it. Just get back to your system. Just because it didn't work the first week doesn't mean you should throw it all in the trash, right? You're gonna have to kind of figure out how this works for you. You're gonna have to tweak it. You're gonna have to figure out where your challenges are and make sure you're doing those things. Set the time that's realistic to get things done. That's going to be a process. So give yourself a little flexibility, but make sure that you're putting those big rocks first so that when you do get things done, it's the important stuff. That's all I got. Time for questions. I see lots of people thinking. I think this is good. All right, Alex, what you got?
Can you give some examples of like your 3 for a week?
Yeah. Let me look at this. I'll just pull up a past week here. Okay, so for me, we're adding an agent to our team. So that was my focus for this quarter. And it was something I had to remind myself and go back to because I got a little thrown off by not having as much business happening, but I had to remind myself that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on adding this agent to my team. So my top 3 for last week, I needed to put together an offer letter for that person. And I needed to make sure I finished our handbook on how we operate as a team. The third thing I wanted to be not related to that, and that was in gearing up for 2021. It was a list that we called stuff people need. And it was looking at any upcoming potential business, some people that we may be working with in 2021, and sending them the things they need. So that was a really big one. And I had to break it down by day as far as, CMAs and sending like a link to an MLS house or portal, contacting them to see where they were with their pre-approval. So that was a big thing that had lots of little bits to it that filled up the rest of the week. So it kind of depends. It can be one simple task that's just really important, or it can be something a little more involved, but be careful about hiding too many things. Like every one of those 3 things can't all have like 10 tasks tied to them. That's too much for a week. Another one I had to send out my notes and my contacts to past clients because I hadn't done that the week before. So I made that a priority. I had to finish categorizing my miles for my taxes. If you sold homes this year, y'all, plan for taxes. I hope you put money aside. And then I was still working on stuff people need. So that one kind of went for a few weeks before I could get that all done. I'm still working on it. Anybody else?
Amanda, do you have a certain template that you use for a business plan? Is it 2 pages long, 10 pages long? Give me a little idea of how you do yours.
So there's a really great outline that Keller Williams offers. Charlie and Maureen are doing that class. I believe it's this Friday. I have to double check. It's on the December calendar. But it is a great way for you to walk through the basics of setting up the pure numbers of your business. And it's looking at, what do I want to make in terms of net profit? And then building that out to what your GCI or your gross commission income is. So that's before you're split with Keller, before your taxes, before your expenses. And then from there, you build out based on your average sale price, how many people or how many sales do you have to have? And building from that is how many people do you have to contact in order to make a connection with somebody who will work with you. So it builds it all out backwards. I do this every year. I find it very valuable. It's interesting. This year I was starting to feel a little frustrated at one point in the year. And I looked back and I was like, one of my biggest goals for this year was to get my average sale price up. And I had that chart that I had filled out and I was over that number. at that point, and we still are. And it was one of those pieces that kind of got lost in the shuffle of the year, but going back and recognizing that we were hitting that goal was a huge victory to acknowledge. So it's nice to have something like that that's very cut and dry, purely numbers based. And then I would say from that, think about other parts of your life, because you want to kind of blend the two, right? Like I said, if you get too focused on business, you're going to burn out. So taking that as like my business plan, and then also considering other things outside of it. For me, that was a way to recognize like my whole self in my plan for the year. So it was my business plan, and I kind of blended those together. What else you got? Does anybody have their business plan set up for 2021? Or some goals in mind? Have you thought about it? Anybody? It's okay. You have 30 days.
Cap.
Don't be embarrassed. Bridget wants to
I want
cap. I love
cap.
it. Heck yeah. That's awesome. So good things to keep in mind if you're thinking about you want to cap, because I think that's a great goal, Bridget, that many other people may have, right? So capping means you've paid in your 27,000 to KW within your 12-month span, and everybody's start date is different. So it also is nice because you can't compare yourself to other people because you don't even know when their start date was. But within that 12-month period, you pay in that 30-70 split, the 30% that goes to KW up until the 27,000 is paid in, is around 3 million or so in sales. And then after that, you get 100% of your commission. This is where you make your money, people. This is where you make your money. So capping is a great goal. And figuring out how to get to that point is that same chart and that same plan that Maureen and Charlie are going to do. So highly recommend you look at that. So building out backwards. Okay, if I want to sell 3 or maybe 3.5 million, what's my average sale price most likely? And that's like, what area am I working in, or who have I worked with so far, to kind of help you figure that out. Okay, that number of transactions, then how many contacts do I need to make to get to that many actual people I'm working with? And based on that, you can have a weekly goal of like, how many people do I need to reach out to? How many appointments do I need to have? So that's a really clean way to figure out that goal. And that's a big goal for us. For my team, we always have an overarching numbers goal. And so that carries out throughout the year. We base it by quarter, but I'm looking at it on a weekly and monthly basis to see where we are to that quarterly goal. And then each quarter, we reflect, adjust as needed, celebrate, bonus ourselves if we beat it, and then we move on to the next quarter. So it's, there's tweaks that happen at specific intervals, but I think that's a great goal to set, Bridget. That's, and if you don't hit it, but you get close, awesome. Getting yourself a stretch goal is really important. Having something to reach towards and recognizing, I am realizing this is a stretch goal. Like for me, this is my vision board from last year. My stretch goal was 60 homes and 14 million, which seemed very difficult after a year where I sold 8 million, and I thought 10 would have been easy. And the fourth quarter blew up in my face and it was really hard. And I was like, 60 homes and 14 million is bananas. It's not going to happen, but I have to believe that I can get close to it. Well, now we're going to close over 70 homes and we're going to be over 14 million. So you've got to reach high. Just reach high. You can have, if it helps you feel better, you can have like this is what I think I'll hit, but I really want to hit this. Like, great, do that. If that works for you, stellar. Adjust it as you go. That's a great one.
I have a question, Matt. How do you
Yeah.
retroactively go back and see all of what you've paid in? I'm guessing in that new commissions part of Command, and I need to join those trainings or rewatch them. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so Command is continuing to develop so that you can more easily track your commissions and what you've paid in to get to your cap. In the meantime, it's not something you can easily track unless you're paying attention and putting it into a chart yourself. I recommend tracking your numbers. Command's not quite there yet, so you could just do a spreadsheet. That's what we do. You know, where are we to goal? And it's updated weekly. Watching those numbers can be very motivating. It may work for you, it may not, but I find that to be helpful. So tracking your numbers is important. You can also, if you're not sure where you stand right now, Jen Turner and Emily, there are contacts who handle all of that with commissions. So you could shoot her an email and ask her. I'd recommend not doing that at the end of the month, especially not at the end of the year, because she's processing a lot of documents and numbers. But if if it's not super time sensitive and you ask her if you could please find out where you stand, she could send you that information. Yeah, and a simple spreadsheet is, basically what we use. We look at our average sale price, number of sales, dollars sold, our commission amount, average commission, quarter, and then total for the year and how we are to that goal. So it can be pretty basic. You don't have to be a spreadsheet wizard to track this stuff. You can even do it on paper. And then there are charts out there too. Yeah.
I have a question about, we talked a lot about calendars and tasks, and I'm definitely doing that. I'm like wondering what other realtors like yourself who've been doing this have blocked on their calendar during specific times. Like every morning at 9 a.m. I check the hot sheet, and at noon I check the hot sheet again. And 3 days a week I block off lead gen. And I'm just curious about those types of things that are in people's calendars, so I can put them in my calendar, because I feel like I'm kind of like, you should probably check the hot sheet, and then it's like, okay, did that, and then I'm just like randomly doing stuff.
Yeah, so there was a class that I did a little while ago about your ideal week. This I pulled from my planner, but I put some spreadsheets out on the table in the office that are, I think, still there, where you can plot out your ideal week. This is a really great way to figure out those big rocks and not have to like reinvent them every week. This will be flexible. This will change over time, but it's a good thing to come back to. And with the holidays, you might have a block in there where you're like, this is when I shop, or this is when I cook or bake or whatever. But as far as agent like typical tasks go, like I said, I like to theme my days. That helps me organize things better, and be realistic about my time. So like Tuesdays are really full because I'm teaching. There's our meeting. There's a lot happening on Tuesdays, so I don't put a lot of other things in Tuesday. But I try to spread it out in the days that I find to be less busy. So that's one tip, is like figure out your less busy days and know that that might be the day you do your thinking time, or something that takes a little more time and focus. Other things that I do, so I have a weekly accountability that I do with my assistant. It's our team meeting. That's huge for me. I know I have to get stuff done before that meeting, and boy, is that motivating. Even if it means I'm doing it last minute, I still know I have to get it done, or I have to answer to Liz and feel bad about how I didn't finish something. And she's not mean about it, but she's disappointed, and that's the worst. So accountability is huge. Checking the hot sheet, absolutely. If you can do it 3 times a day, great, because anytime you're on there, you can text or email a listing to anybody who you're thinking about who may be considering buying or selling, right? I know you're thinking about selling in the spring. I just saw this one pop up in your neighborhood for this price. Like, that's such an easy contact to make, and it starts a conversation and you're giving value. So that's a great one. It doesn't have to be 3 times a day every day, but being in a regular rhythm with the hot sheet is a great idea. I broke this down in the class I taught about having your ideal week, but having a morning routine is a good way. Having routines is a good way to fill those blocks. So if you have a morning routine, like a wake up routine at home, you have a workday start routine, and these don't have to be long, but this just gives you that like automatically, okay, I'm up, this is what I do, it takes this much time, I'm done. I get to work, this is what I have to do, it takes this much time, I'm moving forward. You accomplish things before you really, are even that far into your day because you've got it down to a habit. It's going to take a while to build, but that's a good thing to have in there. So like, I do not wake up and check my phone. I wake up and do self-care. I get up and I do yoga and I meditate. I chug some water. I say hey to my dog. I get ready for the day. I have not checked my phone that entire time. That's me time. That's me being ready to take on whatever's in my phone. And then my workday start up. I have my most important tasks of the day. I have my reaching out to people. I have my checking the hot sheet. And then I'm checking my emails and whatever. And you can set people up to understand that too. Your email reply, or when you talk to new clients, you can even have in your voicemail, I'll be returning phone calls after 9. I'm in the office at this time, but I'll be returning phone calls after this time. So if you're doing lead generation, that's your uninterrupted morning window or midday window, whatever works for you. You can put that in your phone. If someone calls you back and it's not somebody you're trying to connect with, I'll be returning calls after this time. That's fine. You're just setting an expectation. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What is the video called when you were training on the planning?
It's another launch class. It's about your ideal week. I have to see what she named it, but it was October.
Okay.
I think was when we did it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I always plot lunch in there because if I don't eat, I get hangry. It's the only time I'm not nice. Super important. I also plot in times when I typically will do showings or appointments. So I try to funnel appointment requests and showing requests into those times. So for me, that's between 3 and 7, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because most people don't do showings Friday nights. And then Saturday all day is my showing appointment day. So I try not to schedule tasks then. So I kind of, as you get used to having this ideal week, it's like, oh, somebody wants to go look at a house. Okay, well, these are the best days. What day is today? Is that as soon as we can get in? Somebody wants to meet for coffee and they're a lender. This could be great. How can I funnel that into my typical scheduled time so that you're not messing with your regularly set things?
How do you work that in with today's market though? Because as you notice, there's so many offers going on these homes because inventory is slim to none, or not none, but slim.
Having to schedule an
that
appointment soon. Yeah. So I'm, to some extent, my days are flexible for that reason. So I've got certain unmovable times and then I've got flex times. One of the more important things that you should do when you do your buyer consultation is to find out when they're available for showings. Because if you're working with somebody and you know that their job only allows them to be available on Wednesday after 6 and Monday during the day, then you already know what you're dealing with. So if they want to see a house and you're like, is your schedule the same this week? Okay, let's plan to go after 6 on Wednesday. So you may tweak that based on who you're working with, but finding out in advance when they typically are available is really important to helping you find that out. That way you're not back and forth 100 times and moving your schedule around and asking them what works for them instead of telling them when you're available, letting them control your schedule. So it's, preparing in advance helps, and then having a little flexibility helps too.
Gotcha. Because I had a buyer that was self-employed, that's pretty much available every single day. That was available every single day after 3:30. So how do you work that in if she says every day of the week and then knowing the market is slim?
I mean, then it's a matter of you being proactive, looking for houses, sending them houses. What about this one? What about that one?
Okay.
Let's try to get out. Let's plot a block of time. Having time to compare houses side by side is a really important part of the process. So if you can't find one-offs, don't just do one-offs. Let's set a block of time for Thursday at 4 to 6. We're gonna fill it in the day before with as many houses as we can see, which is like 3, maybe 4, and we're going to go out and look at them. They might not be a perfect fit, but it's going to give you a chance to get out with them. It's going to give them a chance to figure out what they like and don't like and have a side-by-side comparison. There's always ways to get people out there, even if they don't seem very active. So you can fill those times. If you set those times, this is when I'm doing showings, you can find a way. Whether you're previewing for a client, whether you're shadowing a showing with another agent, whether you're getting somebody out there who's just starting out, there's ways to fill those times if you want to. Yeah, and that's a good one we can go back into in another week. You may have noticed that before we wrap up, on the December calendar, Tuesdays fall on 2 weeks when we have no team meeting for our office. The Tuesday before Christmas and the Tuesday before New Year's. But I will be here for launch, and those are going to be discussion times. So if you're working through something with your goal setting, if you want to talk more about how to use your time and set up your schedule, whatever you want to talk about, if I have a heads up in advance, I can be sure to be prepared for that. But that's a great time for you to have a chance to discuss some of these things. If you're working on things, what we were doing in the past before COVID was Tuesday was a workshop. So you would come in and we would have a theme, but you could work on anything, and I'd hop around the room and help you out with whatever you were working on. So this is kind of getting us back to that a little bit, kind of workshop style for those 2 days. So keep that in mind too, if there's anything that you're wondering about. Also, don't forget, you can schedule accountability calls with me. Usually it's best to set it up for the following week with me. It's a 20-minute call. We're checking in about your progress and your goals, your top 5, and in this case, setting yourself up for next year. So it's a great opportunity to have some of my very valuable time and whatever information I can help you with to set you up for success and help you be accountable to your tasks and activities to get to those goals. So highly recommend doing that if you haven't, or if you have, I haven't heard from you in a while, text me, set up a time. Like I said, we've got 30 days. So you've got some time to get things in order, to be thankful and grateful and reflect on the things that have worked this year, and give yourself some momentum going into next year, because January is not the time to set up your goals. Now is the time to get yourself set up for success for next year. Now. Doesn't matter that the holidays are coming. Prioritize your time. Make sure you're present with your family and doing things that are not work related, but really concentrate and be present on the time you have to set yourself up so that next year you start out with momentum. You start out strong. It's going to determine how the rest of your year goes. So it's really important that you're jumping into 2021 instead of kind of sliding in and hoping things pick up in the spring, because you're going to be way behind at that point. So make the effort now, take the time now, take the reins, be in charge. Don't expect that you're going to do everything perfectly, but make the effort to get yourself in the right direction and get yourself on track. And then, use that accountability if you need it. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you had a great holiday. I hope you are awake and ready to move forward to the rest of the year. Like I said, text me if you want to set up an accountability call, and you can reach out to me through Facebook too. But I highly recommend taking some time to get yourself set up, to reflect, and to make a plan. Make a plan, make a plan, make a plan. It's the #1 key to my success. I highly recommend you do it. There's not a secret to it. It's just make a plan. So hopefully this was helpful and motivating.
Yes, thank you.
I look forward. You're welcome. I'm excited to see what you all do in the next 30 days.
Thanks, Amanda.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good day.
You as well. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Take care. Why do you have to jump up?